Welcome to Mindful with Minaa, where we explore how mindfulness can enhance your relationships and well-being. I'm your host, Minaa B, a licensed social worker, mental health educator, and author. Through insightful discussions, I will guide you towards self-awareness and self-efficacy, empowering you to effectively manage your relationships, reduce burnout, and be more present with yourself. So let's jump into today's episode. What's up, mindful community? Welcome back to another episode of Mindful with Minaa. I'm your host, Minaa B, and I have some very special news. So in November, I am hosting a very special in-person event in New York City, and it's called the Reframe. It is an emotional wellness workshop, and it's happening on Saturday, November 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So what is this all about? I have been wanting to curate a space for people to come together collectively to practice community care, but also do some of that inner child healing work, to do some of that reflective work, and really get deep down to the root of the roles that we play, and now do the work of reframing them. Hence, the workshop is called the Reframe. So this day is going to include guided reflection, conversation, and a hands-on creative activity where you'll build a memory frame. And the reason for this is because I want you to walk away with something tangible that is going to be connected to the intangible experience and the things that you learn during the workshop. And so during this time, it's going to be an opportunity for you to know yourself better, but also to figure out what intentions you want to create for the new year, and then dive into creative expression by literally walking away with something that is symbolic of what it is that you plan to reframe. So I want you to know that spots are limited, but registration is currently open. So check the link in my bio so that you can sign up, because this is going to be a very intimate gathering. I am keeping it small to around 12 to 15 people, and we already have numerous signups. So we're getting very, very close to that cap number, but I want you to have something that you can look forward to. I want you to have something that you can add to your calendar as a form of joy planning. And what better way to do that than to lock yourself in on November 15th and join me and so many other people in a room where people are craving community, clarity, support, and the goal of reconnecting with themselves, but also wanting to connect with others. So I am looking forward to seeing you all at this intimate experience, and I truly, truly can't wait. But before November, I actually want to give you an opportunity to learn about reframing so that you can have a glimpse into what you're going to experience during that workshop in November. So for today's episode, I want to talk about the power of reframing, why it matters, how it works, and how shifting your perspective can change the way you relate to challenges in your life. Reframing is one of my favorite tools to talk about because it's something we can all practice no matter where we are in our healing journey. It doesn't mean denying your feelings or pretending things are better than they are. It's simply about creating a new lens through which you will view your experiences so you can move forward with more clarity, resilience, and self-compassion. And so, what exactly is reframing for those of you who are not familiar with this word? Reframing is essentially a mindset shift. It's taking the same situation, but looking at it through a different angle. So for example, instead of seeing a failure as proof you're not good enough, you can reframe your thinking and see it as evidence that you took a risk, you learned something new, and now you have information you didn't have before. Psychologists often tie this to cognitive restructuring, which is a key part of cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps people challenge unhelpful thoughts and replace them with more balanced ones. The goal isn't toxic positivity, so it's not saying just be grateful, everything happens for a reason, or look on the bright side. Instead, reframing is about acknowledging the truth of your situation and opening the door to a more helpful perspective. So why does reframing matter? Here's a few reasons. First, your thoughts can shape your reality. The stories you tell yourself influence your emotions and behaviors. If the story is, "I'll never get this right," you'll probably feel hopeless and give up before you even try. But if you reframe it to, I'm still learning and progress takes time, you'll feel more motivated to keep going because what you're doing is practicing self compassion. Another thing is it reduces emotional suffering. I want you to know that life is going to be hard sometimes. That is literally a non negotiable. But the way we interpret events can either add to our suffering or create space for growth. Reframing gives you agency in those moments where you feel powerless. Another thing is it builds resilience. So when you can look at challenges through a lens of learning and growth, you build psychological flexibility, which is the ability to adapt instead of breaking down when things don't go your way. So I want to walk you through some common examples. Let's talk about perfectionism, for example. Instead of saying, I didn't do this perfectly, so I failed, it must be terrible, it must not be good enough, reframe that to, I made progress, and progress matters more than perfection. If you're dealing with rejection, instead of saying, they didn't want me because I'm not good enough, they didn't want me because I'm not worthy, they didn't want me because I'm not good enough, reframe that to, this no is making space for a yes that's aligned with me, my desires, and my goals. If you're somebody who is dealing with a setback, instead of saying, I've been set back again, or this is why I'm never going to succeed in life, reframe that to, this is preparing me for something I may not be able to see yet. So, this is a way that you can learn to empower yourself. It's about asking yourself, am I manufacturing my suffering right now because I am choosing to think of the worst thing possible instead of also asking myself, well, what is the best thing that could also happen too? So, how can you learn to practice reframing in your day to day life? The first thing I want you to do is pause and notice your thoughts every now and then. When something stressful happens, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Because again, the stories that you choose to tell yourself, that's going to be the narrative that you cling to. And what you choose to cling to is going to dictate the way you behave, but also how you feel. So you really need to investigate the stories, but also do the work of asking yourself, why this story? If I have the power to imagine something, why choose to imagine the worst thing that could happen? Why choose to imagine that I am the worst person in the world or I am a failure? Why choose that story? That is something I literally want you to reflect on. Why are you choosing that story out of all the stories that you can draft? And I really want you to challenge that. Because the thing is, stories are not rooted in facts, they're rooted in assumptions and fears. So you have to ask yourself, what is the thing that I'm fearing right now? And maybe this story feels like a protective factor for me. If I feel afraid about this thing, and I tell myself that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, it's just going to validate that fear and it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the next thing that you're going to want to do is ask yourself, how can you rewrite this story now? You want to create a more balanced version of the thought, one that honors your feelings but doesn't limit you. Because again, this is not about toxic positivity. It's not saying that life doesn't have bad moments. It's not saying that life won't have stressful moments. But you can also balance those moments out by asking yourself, what can I learn from what's happening right now? And how can I shift the story in my head that is focused on the worst case scenario? And what is the best case scenario? What are the things that I can be doing? And what are the things that I can be thinking about that will actually bring me on the path that I'm seeking? Another thing I want you to think about is how you can anchor yourself in gratitude and self compassion. Ask yourself, what am I learning from this? Or how can I just be gentle with myself in the moment? I also recommend journaling as a powerful tool for reframing. I believe that when we write down our negative thoughts, it can help us to understand the discrepancy in our thinking. It's similar to when we're picking up the phone and calling a friend and we realize, oh, I said that out loud and now I realize some of this sounds a little off. Some of this doesn't really sound true. I'm not really leaning into the full story. I'm just picking pieces from it and sharing this and holding on to it. And this is why I feel stuck and annoyed. And that's why I think journaling can be so, so powerful. And there are two ways I recommend people to journal: through writing, but also audio journaling. I believe audio journaling is so powerful because you can actually hear yourself saying these things out loud and you're like, oh, that really doesn't make sense. So I just want you to remember that reframing won't solve every problem, but it will transform the way you carry them. It's not about minimizing your struggles, it's about empowering yourself to see beyond them so they don't define you. So this week, I encourage you to practice one small reframe. Notice the stories you tell yourself and try shifting the angle just a little bit. You may be surprised at how much lighter it feels. And so, this is just a tiny, tiny glimpse into what we're going to be unpacking at the Reframe workshop in November. We're going to be going much deeper than this because I do believe that some of the thoughts and our ideologies and the stories that we tell are rooted in the past relational experiences that we've had, whether it be our experiences in our family system, our experiences dating, our experiences with friends. All of those things can shape how we see ourselves. And we're going to be talking about our relational history during this workshop. And I'm really going to be giving participants the tools that they need to, first of all, investigate where these stories are coming from in the first place. And it's also going to be a beautiful opportunity for people to share, reflect with one another, and then do that work of reframing together. So if this episode resonated with you, then you really want to be there on November 15th because we are going to be going deep. This is a 4-hour workshop. And when you click the link in the bio, you can see the way it's going to be broken down. Part 1 of the workshop is going to be the reflective experience, but part 2 is the hands-on experience where we're creating that memory frame to really focus on what we're going to be reframing in life and carry that token of appreciation with us when we leave that workshop. So if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. If the Reframe workshop also resonates with you, please go ahead and secure your ticket, but also share that with a friend as well. If you want to find other ways to connect with me, you can head to the show notes and you can subscribe to my newsletter, Mindful with Mina. You can order my book, Owning Our Struggles, and of course, you can follow me across social media. So I want you to remember that healing takes time, but every shift in perspective is a step forward. Until next time.